Well, it's time now for a look at all today's headlines in the French newspapers with our press reviewer, Nicholas Rushworth. Hello, Nicholas.
Good morning, Lorna.
So we're going to start off, first of all, with the French papers' coverage of France's involvement in Afghanistan and the deaths of some French soldiers there.
I'll start out with Le Parisien, which is also a national daily, Aujourd'hui en France, today in France. And there you can see the headline, Guerre en Afghanistan, War in Afghanistan, Injured for Life, Blessé à vie. Yesterday's papers were covering the fact that several deaths in Afghanistan in the last couple of days have cast a shadow over National Day celebrations. The paper this morning is arguing, in fact, that there is another story, another aspect of this, which is, in fact, the 500 French soldiers who have been injured in action during the 10 years of the French involvement in Afghanistan. It talks to some of them, including a chief corporal who was wounded in the stomach and arm, who says, Je ne regrette rien. I don't regret anything, also to a mine victim, and also to a psychiatrist, Michel Lejoyeux, who says that, in fact, war, he argues, doesn't harden you up, it weakens you. In the long term, symptoms can include that feeling of, why did I survive, to constant nightmares, reliving the experience over and over. Le Monde is also covering that story. The recent deaths did cast a shadow, it says yesterday, and has renewed debate on speeding up withdrawal. French troops theoretically should be out of Afghanistan in full by 2014. Now, a graphic there, as you can see, was showing that 17 deaths have occurred in Afghanistan this year. That's more than the whole of last year already, and we're only about halfway through this year. Le Monde points out that these French deaths over the last couple of days followed President Nicolas Sarkozy's surprise visit to the country on Tuesday.
Okay, yeah. And Libération also covering that story, isn't it?
Yeah, it's reporting that the French chief of staff believes the Taliban is no longer, in fact, in control. They realize, he argues, that they cannot win and are resorting to blind terror. The paper, too, is asking whether France could speed its pullout. The paper says no. A quicker exit now would, in fact, ruin the efforts over the last decade.
OK, now the US debt crisis, also big news for the French newspapers, isn't it?
The business paper La Tribune is headlining L'Angoisse, the anxiety of it all, and that's the debt hole in the United States. The world's one superpower is now trapped by debt, just as similar scenarios we've seen in Europe over the last few months. In its inside pages, La Tribune reports that, sticking with Europe, the Fitch credit rating agency has downgraded Greek debt from P+ to CCC, meaning default is a real possibility. Concerning the United States, it reports, there you can see a grim Barack Obama there. It's reporting that China, the US's main creditor, wants to see measures guaranteeing that investors' interests are protected. The paper argues that while the Democrats and Republicans are split within their parties and opposed to each other, that, in fact, reason, it argues, should win out. The left-wing Libération says the EU, meanwhile, should investigate these credit ratings agencies. It describes them as totally irrational. It says the ECB, the IMF and the OECD think that the credit ratings agencies are part of the problem. And apparently the explanation is that, in fact, in the 2008 financial crisis, these agencies were caught short, and now they want to prove that they're very thorough, and so they are conservative, small fee in their forecasts, but stricter in their ratings.
OK, now immigration, finally, also getting some attention from the papers today.
Yeah, Le Monde has this look at 4 young men, Tunisian refugees of the Arab Spring, staying in the Parc Bout-Chaumont, which is on the right bank here in Paris, and that 4 of them are kind of stuck there, hanging out in the park. They say that basically they came across the Mediterranean in full of hope, believing that this was a turning point for them, but now they're resigned to their fate. It's estimated, the paper says, that 600 to 900 Tunisian refugees of the Arab Spring are now in Paris.
OK, thanks very much indeed, Nicholas, for that look at all today's French newspapers. And you'll be back a bit later on with a look at newspapers around the world as well.